Tomorrow night, on a special 48 hours, a woman is accused of murder. Evidence in a court of law can make or break a case. 48 Hours Tracy Smith goes behind closed doors with the suspect's defense team and a forensic animator as they strategize how to present their theory of what happened. But will the jury believe them?
This is WHBC AM Canton, News Talk 1480 WHBC.
The trial begins today for a local woman accused of killing her husband on New Year's Eve.
It had happened so fast, and he had put his hand over my nose and my mouth, and I couldn't breathe. And he's shoving me. He's like, "Go to the bedroom, bitch, go to the bedroom." And I'm like, okay, I'm going.
My name is Scott Roeder. I'm an evidence specialist. I received a phone call, a domestic homicide case, a woman who's being accused of murder.
And I'm like, I'm gonna call the cops. And he grabbed me and he shook me like this. And he took my phone and he goes, I'll give you a reason to call the cops, you dumb bitch. I'll give you a reason. And he walked out and he left. He left the room and he went down the hallway screaming it over and over again.
Everybody was really interested in this trial because it was this small town with this beautiful young lady who's being accused of this horrible crime.
I walked down into the hallway and I had the gun at my side. He said, "Where do you think you're going?" And I said, I'm leaving, I'm going. And he started to walk towards me and I raised the gun.
We've got a dead man, and we've got a woman whose life is hanging in the balance. She's the only eyewitness to this situation.
And then it was over. It was so quick. And he was on the ground, and I was still holding the weapon out, and I was still pulling the trigger.
Some people were immediately making a judgment for, this is a battered woman.
My daughter is innocent. She's innocent of murder.
And then some other people were immediately making a judgment, cold-blooded killer.
How could she even do that?
I think she's a monster.
People want to rush to an opinion. They want to rush to the story before the evidence even has been analyzed. I stick to the physical and the forensic evidence.
What was your purpose in firing that first shot?
To stop Rob. I thought my life was in danger. I was just trying to stop him. I was defending myself.
Evidence. In a criminal court of law, it can send a defendant to prison for life or prove their innocence beyond a reasonable doubt. Tonight, on a special 48 hours, we'll go behind the closed doors of legal strategy sessions and cutting-edge evidence analysis to show just what it takes to convince a jury that you have the most compelling evidence of all.
Sometimes I'll work for the defense, sometimes for the prosecution, sometimes for the plaintiff, sometimes for the defendant. I look at the totality of the evidence and put it together, kind of like a puzzle. This isn't about emotion. We evaluate the evidence, we conduct experiments, we reduce it to a visual presentation, and then we try to demonstrate that for the benefit of the jury. If you hire me, you get what you get, and I'm going to do my best to demonstrate what I think the truth is. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we do.
And here with more on this story is 48 Hours producer Josh Gelman. Josh, thank you for joining us. What was the greatest challenge for Colleen's attorney during this trial?
The greatest challenge for Colleen's attorney was proving that Colleen acted in self-defense. She was the only witness to this crime, and it came down to analyzing the evidence, crime scene photos, coroner's reports, to really try and determine what happened that night.
And how difficult is it to determine the sequence of events? In other words, whether the victim was shot in the face first or the back first? I mean, this is important information, but can it be derived from forensic evidence?
You know, in any crime, it's really hard to determine a sequence of events, especially with gunshots. In this crime, impossible. So the prosecution and the defense both came up with their own theories of where she shot first. Was it in the face or was it in the back? And that was critical to this case.
And how valuable is the evidence room's, forensic animation? That's something that they create in influencing the jury.
It's an incredible tool. It's a very modern tool. It's very detailed, very realistic, and a great way to show the jury what you think happened in the crime. Unfortunately, it's too real, and it has to be delivered with a statement that this is not a statement of fact. It is an interpretation of what they think happened.
But it's almost always admissible in trial?
Sometimes it's admissible, sometimes it's not. The prosecution will always argue not to admit it because it is a very powerful presentation.
And it looks realistic.
It looks very realistic.
Right.
And sometimes the judge will allow it, and sometimes they won't, but there are a lot of caveats delivered to the jury about that this isn't real. It's interpretive.
In this particular trial, how important would you say the forensic evidence ended up being?
Honestly, I don't want to really...
Yeah, you don't want to reveal. We'll have to watch it to see.
You really have to watch it.
All right. All right. Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming to see us today. And you can watch the full report, 48 Hours, The Evidence Room, tomorrow night at 9 Eastern on CBS.